Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, and I've been sad. I have been depressed. I have nothing to look forward to anymore. I thought we were finally gonna take the South Texas Derby series, but we didn't. And even with this whole new team, San Antonio still managed to outsmart us at the end. Why do you always have to do that? But anyway, guys, but seriously, we'll be talking today about last Sunday's match. I know a lot of us are still kind of hurt by the results. Like I said, I know I am. And but today neither Jacob nor Ray could make it, but we do have Harry Austin from the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable joining us to have a little discussion. Kind of, we get both viewpoints of both teams to talk about this South Texas Derby that just happened this Sunday. Um, but before we start, let me go ahead and let him say hi to everybody. Hi, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing well here. How is everybody doing here on down in the valley? Hopefully, everybody's having a fun week. It's a work week, I know that, but hopefully, uh, despite the results, your season, RGV season's been pretty successful so far. Ahead of San Antonio, still in the standings, so
Mm-hmm.
a little blip. And to be honest with you, 1-1 and what 1-1 and 2, and to determine who has the tiebreakers goes to whoever can get the most points in the division. So
Mm-hmm.
still lots to play for.
That is definitely true. But I just because it's just the way that it happened. It's just the way that the game played out. It kind of like it left a sour taste in everybody's mouth there at the stadium. And I know, talking to some to some fans on social media,
Mhm.
there was different opinions regarding about what was the issue. And it just, what sucks is that I had made a joke a couple weeks ago about how RGB fans tend to not blame the refs when they lose, and yet in this game it's like everybody's talking about that the ref screwed us over. And it's like, oh my god, guys, you guys are making me feel like an idiot on social media. Like, put that clown emoji on face on me, because kind of thing. The way I see it, I feel like the Toros did a lot of things wrong. They did a lot of things right, you know but the key essentials, they just got it wrong. And we'll go into more detail as we go on. But I do want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. I know that Mike is there. He says San Antonio didn't do shite. It was the ref with his BS side ref. But he does say hi to you, man.
Yeah.
But guys, let everybody know about the show. Be sure to share it. Be sure to like it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's going to be a very interesting discussion today about this Saturday's past Sunday's match, and then we'll probably going to get a little bit into discussing um, the Colorado Springs matchup that will come
Mhm.
up this Saturday. I know Harry watched last
Last night.
night the Colorado against Memphis 901 FC. And he can probably tell us a little bit, since he's also very savvy about the whole USL. Um, Pretty much, yeah, the whole USL. Like he's pretty savvy about players, about all of this stuff. So he'll give us a good indication of what we can expect from Colorado Springs Switchbacks. By the way, it's gonna be at the Shane Beckford homecoming, I think. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and start with this discussion. So, Harry, you made the trip down here to HEB Park. Um, I have a feeling you were their good luck charm, to be honest, because last time that the Toros played San Antonio here at HEB Park, you weren't able to make it because it was a Sunday game, and the
Correct.
Toros won that match. But
Correct.
but I do want to ask you, what did you feel was different about this team on Sunday compared to the last time y'all visited HEB Park?
So the last time I believe was the first game that they didn't have PC um, on there, and PC is invaluable to our club. And unfortunately, he's been dealing with injuries. Since then, they've signed Mohamed Abu for that here, who played that holding mid.
Mm-hmm.
He's got experience from the crew, from DC United, so lots of MLS experience, through there here. And I just think that leadership made such such a difference. For that here, we didn't have Liam Doyle out on what is it, the left back side, going against Wayne Kazane, who killed us that first match, and I
Yes.
know you sent out a tweet, where is he? Which I was like, yeah, that's a good question, because he's in all three matches he's impacted with his speed, the San Antonio match there. So to me, for that was probably the biggest difference is that and our fullbacks. Instead of having Doyle, we've got Maloney and Gleedle, which is the starters on there. So San Antonio is actually getting healthier. I know that's kind of crazy to say without Patino. And we had two center backs that went down on this match, but because of injuries, they've developed quite a bit of depth. But I think compared to early on, RGV was a lot more healthier from my understanding.
Yes.
And the roles have kind of reversed when it comes to health, where San Antonio is starting to get key pieces back, and key pieces that are fit, and where I think RGV is kind of, especially up top, unfortunately dealing with some injuries.
Yeah, I mean it's just been piling up for the Toros. The worst part of it is that they've been piling up in the attacking position, especially with the strikers. Elvis Amo is out. Then Arturo Dispe, arguably our best center back for this season, is out as well for an injury. From what I've been told, he got a knock at the game against Austin Bold when we played at Bold Stadium, and he's been gone ever since. And now we add that, Kyle Edwards.
Yeah,
I don't know I don't know if Michael's heard anything about Kyle, but it looked
like a
pretty
bad
bad
one.
on my end. Yeah.
When you get carted off and it doesn't look like that there was any contact with it, I thought maybe stepped on who was it? Kamiri's ankle, or not ankle, his foot, maybe something like that. But from what I heard is there really wasn't any contact, and it looked bad from the stands, and hopefully Murphy will, or pardon me, Edwards will, it's nothing major, and he'll be back in a week or so. But yeah, when you get carted off, that's not a good sign, in my opinion.
No, definitely not. And you also have trying to remember who else is after. Oh, pues Aitor Lopez, who was one of the midseason signings for the Toros. He got injured with an ACL tear right before the week that he was going to debut. So he's out for the rest of the season. So it's just been like a lot of bad luck for the Toros in maintaining some consistency at a striker because of injuries. And like you mentioned, I think San Antonio, I told Jonathan Check in one of the Striker Texas episodes, I told him that, having somebody like if it in the case of PC, having him be kind of the anchor of the midfielder was so important. It was pretty obvious, because whenever PC wasn't in, San Antonio looked lost. Then PC came back from that initial injury, and he was, the team looked a lot better. Y'all got the win. The next game, he gets injured again, and but then this time you guys had, like you mentioned, Mohamed Abu, I think, Abu, and he might not be. I don't think he's like at the same talent level as PC, but I think having somebody that is that knows the position well, it was a huge boost for San Antonio to hold themselves down defensively against the Toros. But let's take a look at the starting lineup for RGVFC, and then we'll also talk about San Antonio's lineup. But here's the lineup that the Toros had. First of all, we weren't going to be playing with Tyler Derrick on goal as we usually have. I mentioned during the week, he had gotten injured and ended up getting substituted off in the 42nd minute against Real Monarchs, and Colin Miller had to step in. And I was told by a source, that Tyler Derrick is knock wasn't as bad as they thought, but they didn't want to risk him. They were still kind of evaluating on a day-by-day basis whether he would be playing on Sunday or not. We did see him before in the pre-match warm-ups. We did see him warm up kind of to the side, so he is, I guess you can say,
well, he was in the 18, so if Miller would have went down, he would have came in at that time.
Yeah, but he probably wasn't 100% to be a starter, as you know, as they mentioned to me. They kind of wanted to play it safe and make sure not happen like PC, where maybe he wasn't 100% ready to come back, getting some starting minutes. They ended up putting him in, and he ended up making the injury worse. You know, so I guess they wanted to play it safe, and then seeing what he did against Real Monarchs kind of gave them a confidence boost to say, you know what, maybe we can have the opportunity to give Derek some rest, because Colin Miller did a decent job against Real Monarchs. So that was what
he did well, though. I think if you know, and I know you may talk to his play, I thought he performed well. You know, the PK, maybe Derek stops that.
See, I don't think so, because unless I'm mistaken,
there was no other. The last goal he weren't stopping. Nathan had a clear shot, on the goal, but to me, I thought Colin Miller stepped in great, and I know I was kind of going in, saying, great, we're going against Colin Miller. That's that should help. But I thought he played great. He stepped up. There wasn't. It's not like last year where there was a noticeable difference in the quality of goalkeeping. Colin Miller is to me, if Tyler was out for a period of time, you're still in good hands with Colin, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he had some key saves in the match against Real Monarchs, where he had that presence inside of his box, to deny Real Monarchs and they had some key moments, especially in the beginning of the second half, And against San Antonio, I mean, yeah, because you can say that San Antonio really didn't have many opportunities. And I think outside of the goals, like I said, the first goal was a penalty kick that, while Nathan didn't really put a lot of power to that ball, the way that he where he put that ball, it had so much accuracy to in a position where it was going to be difficult for any goalkeeper to get a hand on it. I was looking right now at the heights between Colin Miller and Tyler Derrick, and apparently they're pretty much the same height, 6'3". Maybe Tyler Derrick's experience could have maybe given him an edge to try and save that shot. But honestly, the way he positioned that ball, I'm talking about Nathan, I don't think even Tyler Derrick could have gotten to that. So, I mean, I think that's kudos to Colin Miller being able to, first of all, analyze Nathan to see where he was going to get that shot, guess that shot, and the fact he did get a hand on it. He did get a touch to it, but it just wasn't enough to give it enough.
By Nathan.
Yeah,
you got to give Nathan credit. He put the power behind it, had some spin on it, and despite Miller getting a hand on it, it was able to thankfully, in my case here, cross the line, and thankfully for yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then you had a line of four in the back line. You had Carter Manley as a right back, Camden Riley and Eric Pimentel as center backs, and Adrian Vera as a left back. The USL has them with a three-man midfield line, with Murphy kind of being behind Grant Robinson and Rodrigo Lopez. And up on top, you had Christian Sorto, Juan Carlos Azócar, and Kyle Edwards. By the way, I forgot to make Kyle Edwards' FIFA Ultimate Team card, so forgive that little mistake right there. But you guys get the point. It was kind of like, it looked kind of like a 4-3-3 on paper. But I will say this, about this particular lineup. I honestly, during the match, I was really not convinced about Grant Robinson. I felt like he looked a little bit unconfident out there. They were there, especially in the second half. You know, he gave away balls directly to San Antonio. I don't know if it's just
comfortable with the pressure, especially compared.
Exactly.
And I know it's hard to compare him to Lopez, because Lopez is one of the greats of the league, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But yeah, as far as for SAFC and their pressuring, especially Jose, you could tell was making him feel uncomfortable for that here.
But you know what's interesting though? In the first game, RGVFC were the ones exerting the pressure on San Antonio. San Antonio was the one that pretty much gave to RGV's pressure. This game, the roles reversed, and so did the scoreboard. And I think that has a lot to do with it, where San Antonio was the one that pretty much gained the initiative of this match to try to establish, their superiority on the bench, on the field in that aspect, in being able to exert that high pressure enough to make RGV uncomfortable enough to make some wrong decisions that ended up costing them, goals against against the Toros.
First match, as for San Antonio, you have to admit that was the first game without PC, where they had people playing out of position. And if I remember right, RGV got on the board early that first match, right?
Correct. Yes.
And I think that's for San Antonio. If they get the lead, they're going to pressure. Now, just like San Antonio's history, they cough up the lead, which they did in this one as well. But to me, if you can get San Antonio, if you can get an early goal on San Antonio, I think that I hate to say it, that makes a huge difference on how San Antonio plays. But I also think the first match, we didn't have Maloney, we didn't have PC. This one, we did have that, where I think at that time, and this was something that, when we were kind of struggling with all the ties and losses, is you had to cover for the left back or right back, depending on which side Gleedle wasn't on, with Doyle or whoever. So you had to kind of cover that, and because that first match, you guys just killed us going down Doyle's side, and how he didn't, especially the match in San Antonio, where it was a 1-1 draw, how he didn't get more yellow cards for all the hugging that he was doing. He's been super friendly with the RGV players here. It's just, I think, but with having Maloney, with having Gleedle on the backside there, gives them that freedom to be able to press up a little bit more, knowing that the two guys got the speed and the experience to make up for that.
Yeah, and that pretty much makes a lot of sense tactically as well, because like you mentioned, now your guys up on top and in the midfield, they're not worried about, like, okay, well, if it passes by me, like, I have to run back, like I have to stay back, because I don't want to say I don't trust, but but I know that he's probably not comfortable enough in that position to be able to stop, whether it's, at that moment was Juan Cusain or Juan Carlos Azócar at this moment. Now, okay, if for some reason Azócar gets past me, I know I have somebody that I can depend on that can be able to stop him. So that gives me more freedom to kind of push up and try to get that high pressure, like you mentioned. But now let's look at San Antonio's starting 11. Obviously, you've got the Beard, Matt Cardoni in goal. I honestly think he is one of the best shot stoppers that I have seen. I do feel like what was his name?
Some weaknesses, but him stopping shots and anticipating where the shots come from, yeah, he's good. Now his distribution, to me, that's probably his weakest part. But as far as being able to read and stop the, be able to read, where the ball and anticipate, yeah, he's definitely above average for USL, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you have your line of four with Sam Gleedle, like you mentioned, Jasser Kamiri, Axel Schoberg, Connor Maloney. Thank you so much, Harry. And in the midfield, the USL has as a line of four with Marcus Epps, Mohamed Abu, Cam Lindley, Jose Gallegos, and then with two attackers up on top with Justin Dillon and of course Nathan Fagasa, the Brazilian. But was this something that's been consistent, or you felt that maybe Alan Morsina kind of tweaked this lineup to suit against RGVFC?
There's a little bit of tweaking because this is the first time that Dillon's been in the starting lineup for a while. Usually, they still may go kind of. It's almost like a 4-3 or a 4-2-3-1, if I got my numbers right there, where you have Nathan up top, but then you would have Epps, Jose, and Cuello instead of Dillon, kind of in that upper mid, and then you would have Abu and Lindley, kind of as that double pivot, in the back there. Back four is going to be pretty consistent. Gleedle, Maloney. When Axel's healthy, he's in. Like I said here, we had two center backs out, and Jasser Kamiri, who's on loan from Vancouver. It's probably his first start in a while, but he's been dealing with some injuries. But to me, I know on our show, we've been pushing to try to get Jasser in, just, the Tunisian Terminator that we call him. And, obviously, he let his physicality be known down in the Valley. I heard some friendly cheers for him from the local fans. So,
he's one of the Kimiri is one of the guys that, he's not. I feel like he's a guy that's not going to back down. I know we've seen it multiple times where even with people like on the bench, Kamiri can try to intimidate him. Like, where you have there's some fouls or so he's going to be intimidated. He's going to use any kind of advantage that he can get in order to make his presence known. And I think in the second half, I hated him, to be honest. Because and I think everybody in San Antonio's team, once they had the lead, any little touch, and they're already groveling like Neymar on the field. But it's like I mentioned, you enjoy it when your team does it.
Yes.
But when the other team does it to you, you obviously hate it. But you hate the idea or love the idea, but at the end of the day, you're going to use whatever advantage you have to try to maintain a lead. And that's exactly what San Antonio did. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the key plays of this match. Because, so for starters, you had the penalty play early in the match as well, like pretty much in the 17th minute. And let me go ahead and change that right here. There we go. So you have this play, right, where this is all coming from the left-hand side of the field. There's a pass over from was it 30? Who's 31? Jacob Maloney. So Maloney sends a through ball over to Jose Gallegos. Jose Gallegos cuts inside into the box to get past Carter Manley, and in an attempt to kind of get back into the play, Juan Carlos Azócar gets a leg on Jose Gallegos, trips him in the box, and that's a penalty. Now here's the thing. Obviously, to me, I felt, and I said it at halftime, I felt that Jose Gallegos kind of looked for that contact inside the box. To me, it felt like more of Gallegos' leg going towards Azócar's leg rather than the inverse. But there was contact. There was contact inside the box, and it all leads back to the fact that Juan Carlos Azócar, his main purpose in the field isn't really to defend. So he probably doesn't have as much knowledge or experience to know when I should put my foot out, how should I put my foot out, or how do I avoid someone as nimble and crafty as Jose Gallegos to get past me into and avoid him to get into a good position to score.
And I thought Manley had pretty good defense on him still. He was still in good position. He was pushing, Jose more to the middle where he had more help for that here. And, I know some people say, you may say soft, PK, which it probably is, to be fair. There was contact, you and I both seen those calls go either direction.
Mhm.
But for once, it went San Antonio's way. So
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, there was contact there, and in the USL, 9 times out of 10, they are going to call that penalty, especially the way that the Gallegos probably sold it, because honestly, I mean, I think it was just
but
enough.
that's what you want your attacking players to do.
Mhm.
That's what you want your attacking players to do. If you feel contact, and the other aspect, which I know RGV fans were saying, is that the ball was away from him. When he kicked it, he probably had a little bit of a heavy touch to where the ball was actually away, and that's where the contact kind of happened. So, as a San Antonio fan, I think it's probably a fair call, but as a RGV fan, obviously you're going to be looking through different views.
And I think this is the interesting thing about the way the laws of the game are pretty much written. I felt there's too much ambiguity. Like you mentioned, okay, in this play, yes, Jose Gallegos gets touches, makes contact or Azócar makes contact with Gallegos, but the ball was to where James Murphy had already received it. So even if there was no contact, he would have lost possession to James Murphy anyway. But at the end of the day, I think what the referee sees at that instant is he sees Jose Gallegos falling down. When he calls the penalty, that's when he realizes that Murphy had the ball, but he already called it. But we'll get to that precedence eventually later on in this game. Just hold your horses, and I know probably a lot of RGV fans are probably
gonna. I will say this: there is a play later on a free kick from San Antonio does. And Soysaf has a video where Abu just gets cleaned out. So should have been a clear penalty. So to me,
is that the one? Is that the one where it was a free kick by Nathan?
Yes.
And then it kind of parries off of Miller.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's if you go to Soysaf, on social media, they actually, because they were there, they have a video from that they shot that shows that he Abu just got took out there. But to be fair, the refs behind,
and there's just so many players right there blocking his view.
But to me, like I said here, this one, so let's say it's 50-50. San Antonio got the benefit of this call, didn't get the benefit of the other call, and then of course there's one at the end of the game that we'll discuss later on.
Definitely. So then, like we mentioned, also, the goal, the penalty is kicked by Nathan. I was to take a look here. He doesn't really run up fast. He really doesn't put it. He didn't even put it up in the upper 90, nor at the base of the post. Like it was mid-level. Yeah. It was simple for the keeper, or in theory, when it's at waist level, it's a lot easier for the goalkeeper to get to than, for example, upper 90 or down to the base, especially for a tall keeper, right? But he put it so close to the post that it was going to be hard either way for Colin Miller to
hands to be able to
definitely. And also, I feel like you also have to take that chance and try to anticipate. Rather than react to where the ball's going, but if you try to anticipate, you also run into the risk of the penalty kicker to notice that and then just send you the other way, But I think Colin Miller, it's nothing. It's not a mistake on him. It was just a well-placed penalty kick by Nathan,
yeah,
right?
I thought it was a good shot. There's nothing you can say about it.
Yeah, so then you have the 35th minute. You have this is where Juan Carlos Azócar scored his goal. This is a very interesting play, honestly, because we get into this whole situation that we talked about. First, you have a cross by Carter Manley. Sorto can't get a good header on it. I believe that's Alexis Cerritos. Has to come back. Sends it through ball to Adrian Vera. Adrian Vera, I guess he tried to go for Sorto. Sorto can't get to it. The ball continues back. Juan Carlos Azócar has to retreat to meet that ball, and then he just sends a beautiful shot to the upper 90. Impossible for Matt Cardone to save.
World class. My issue from a San Antonio side is, I thought Mohamed could have, Abu could have, done something with it, but I think he was like, hey, let it go out, but no, the shot is, nobody's stopping that goal. That was a world class shot.
Yeah, I was just, so whose number was it? 25? Is that Abu?
Yeah. Abu, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like, to me, it seemed like he was expecting.
Right here, I think he could have done, and like, what is that? Sorto.
Yeah.
I think he didn't want to involve him, so he erred on caution, but unfortunately when he did that, it opened it up for the goal to be shot, and the dude put it on frame.
Yeah, I just thought it, to me it looked like he was expecting so, because he is, so I guess he was trying to prepare himself to clear the ball away, but then Sorto didn't get the touch to it, so it kind of threw him off guard. And then,
like when you slowed it down, he made an attempt. I don't know if he was trying to dummy it, because who knows where that ball goes if he does touch it, where it is going out. But to me,
it looked like he was trying to clear it, to be honest.
So,
but he just whiffed.
He whiffed. Yeah.
Yeah.
From a San Antonio perspective, that was one where I was like, oh.
And honestly, I don't really think. All right, who was that? Was that Kamiri?
Which one?
The one that tries to charge towards Azócar.
Number 20?
No.
Oh, no.
No. Is it? No, that's that's actually Axel. That was Axel.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, because Kamiri's at the border of the 6. Yeah. But I really don't fault Axel, because he was doing what he needed to do. But that was just pure the goal. Yeah. And the fact that that he's got that killer's instinct to know exactly what he's going to do, even in a pretty much in a situation he wasn't expecting, having to retreat, cut in and get the shot. But even with that, he was able to get that clear shot on goal really, really well. So, and I mentioned, that Juan Carlos Azócar really is a godsend to Wilmer Cabrera's squad, especially in these last couple of matches. Whether he probably may not score, which he has, because he's already the leading scorer for the Toros with 5 goals, but he can also, attract the marking of the opposing defenders to try to open up space. Mm-hmm. Now, do the other teammates take advantage of those spaces? Probably not, but Azócar can do that job for Wilmer Cabrera's tactics.
No, on the goal, like I said here, it was a great goal. To me, the goal of the night between the two teams. For that here, as far as for the style points, it was a beautiful goal. There's nothing you can say about it.
And then this is the play that you're talking about, Harry. The free kick by Fragasa,
mm-hmm.
where you feel that Abu was taken down inside of the box.
Correct.
So as you can see right here, that ball went in the middle of the wall.
Right.
I don't know if I should be worried about that, because that was a long wall, and yet the ball still managed to get through. Thankfully, Colin Miller was well positioned to at least keep that ball out. But I think it's just worrisome how easy that wall opened up against Colin Miller.
There, yeah, it was a great shot. You got to give Nathan credit. It was an awesome shot. He, I was surprised he got it through the wall going through there, but the wall opened up for him, and great save by Miller. And that's why I'm saying, I know there, Miller's the second goalkeeper on the team for obvious reasons, but he played well. That could have been very easy. If you had had a goalie from last year, that would have been a goal, in my opinion.
Now, I do want to ask you because before we move on to the second half,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the Toros and San Antonio are 1-1
Mm-hmm.
at that moment. Uh, do you felt that maybe San Antonio kind of changed their tactics to kind of wait for RGV and see what they can do? That you felt like they were parking the bus at moments, or what did you think of how San Antonio played the second half?
No, well, I think the end of the first half, I think RGV, especially after they got that goal, the wind was, they were playing better than SAFC. But I think it's just kind of that ebb and flows of the game. Um, I didn't really see San Antonio adjust too much. Especially because they were still pressing forward. It was a game that went back and forth.
Mhm.
Both teams were still trying to do it, and there was, in any typical game, that there's going to be, you're going to have momentum on the side. And I thought RGV had it going into the half, and you kind of wonder if maybe RGV, if they would have had 10 more minutes, if maybe they would have got another goal. But thankfully for San Antonio, they were able to get into the locker room, for that here, and with 1-1. And I think for San Antonio's perspective, that they played good. But you could tell they kind of built confidence, especially, coming from the first game where they got ran out of town. There's no way to, I know it was a 2-1 game where I think they got a late goal in that first match there. Yeah, so they got a goal 68th minute by Patino. But that first half of that first game, you just, have. So I think San Antonio had confidence. I didn't see really any big changes from San Antonio that stood out to me, for it here compared to how they normally play. Did you?
Mhm. To me, I think it was mostly more after the San Antonio found the second. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed like they played it smart. They kind of
Well, they packed
forced.
it in after the second goal, but the
Yeah.
start of the first half, it was still open, and especially towards the, after they got that second goal with the, that was 58th minute. I
Hmm.
think once you got closer to the 70th minute and that last 20 minutes, because you could tell even on the substitutions that they brought in, they were a little bit more, defensive, even though they were attacking players
Yeah.
that came on. You had Dylan that went out for
Because you brought in Emil
right,
Cuello and
and then Cuello came in for Epps
yeah, and
on the side there. But yeah, they there's no question, in this, especially the last half of the game, last third of the game, from, I would say about 65th, 70th minute on, yeah, San Antonio was playing more defensive. There's no question about that.
and I feel like with RGV, I think RGV kind of played it the way they should have. You had to make a substitution in the 32nd minute
Mm-hmm.
to replace Cal Edwards, who had gotten injured. To do that, you bring in Alexis Cerritos. Not my favorite player, as you all know, but it made sense considering the situation. Now you're gonna
Because
play
you wouldn't
more.
bring Sanchez in that early, right?
No, it's rare. It's usually he either plays as a starter to get subbed off, maybe like in the 70th minute or something. Um, but Vicente Sanchez is usually brought in like in the middle of the second half
Which
in
is where
case
he
that
was
they
this
do
time.
need him, which like it was. So you bring in Alexis Cerritos, right? And then you bring in Vicente Sanchez, you bring in Babu Karjai, and then you bring in John Henry Sanchez. I feel like that substitution should have been made earlier because it was already in stoppage time when
90 plus
Wilmer
2, yeah.
decides to bring in John Henry Sanchez.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion, especially when we talk about the play. Um, And I know, Michael talks about how, in the chat here of how San Antonio, was diving a little bit. We'll just call it what it was, diving a little bit, being a little bit soft. But the time wasting that RGV did, especially in extra time, especially on that call, there was 2 minutes that they took, and I know it was a huge call, but then you had the substitutions and stuff like that. That to me, they could have extended the game and gone through. There was some calls there. I was like, keep arguing with the ref, because unfortunately the ref did get did impact the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so then, in the second half, you had RGV starting off with an opportunity on goal. A good shot from outside the box by Rodrigo Lopez, probably like 24 yards away, and Mark Cardoni is able to get the shot. So as you can see, you see Rodrigo trying to get those opportunities from outside the box. A lot of the times when you have a team that is that is a little bit far back, when you've got those two lines of four, one of the best things you can do is try those boxes from outside the shot. Yeah. There it is. Those shots from outside the box in order to try to surprise the keeper. But Matt Cardoni was, I think he was pretty into the match. He wasn't distracted or anything at all, and he was able to get a good save against Rodrigo Lopez's goal. But then you go into the 57th minute, 58th minute, and this is where things got a little squirrely for RGVFC. Just a couple of seconds later, before, I think there was a foul in favor of RGVFC, and so then all of a sudden you go into the 58th minute and you have this play. There's a through ball, a one-time pass from who is it? Dylan back to Jose Gallegos, and then here's the interesting part about this play, right? So you get the through ball from Jose Gallegos over to Dylan. So first off, Cameron Ridley, what was he doing so far up on the pitch when he's supposed to be the center back? You've already got your midfielders right there. You can see.
I wonder if he was trying to get, because Dylan's not the quickest. So I wonder if he thought that he could get to that pass or put pressure on him to break up the attack. But unfortunately, when he didn't do it, that left, unfortunately, the RGV defense wide open for what happened.
And then so we continue the play. There's the through ball. Now you see that, okay, Dylan leaves Carter Manley behind, and then Justin Dylan, he's got Eric Pimentel on him, which I kind of understand why he did that, but it's not the first time where he does a similar situation where he goes up to help out a teammate defensively. He did it against Austin Bold as well. Remember that goal that tied? No, what was it? Yeah, well, that tied it by Xavi Baez. If you guys remember that goal from that game, same thing happened there. Eric Pimentel had gone to defend against I think it was Icaza. Juan David Cabezas also goes into that specific part of the box. In this case, it was the right-hand side of the box. And that left the midfield wide open. Yeah, and it happened the same thing.
But let me ask you
Carter
a
Manley
here.
Okay.
For him, to me, he's in a no-win situation. It's basically a 2-on-1. If he doesn't go over, then Dylan's got the open shot, from
Correct.
that side there. So to me, he's left out. He's left out to dry. There's nothing he can do that.
Yeah, and then also because if he doesn't go for Dylan and he doesn't stay for Nathan, then he looks worse. But he's like, okay, like you didn't even decide to do anything, right?
It's one of those that goes back to Riley being out of position. That I hate to say it, that luckily for San Antonio, don't get me wrong, but for RGV purposes, it's you can go back to that his positioning and say that's the reason why this goal happens.
Yeah, and I mean because you can't. I mean, okay, we know that Adrian Vera is the left back, but usually Adrian Vera goes out to attack. So maybe you can say that maybe Vera didn't return on time, but at the end of it all goes back to, like you mentioned, to Cam Riley, why he was so far up on the line and so slow to come back, and that left Fagasa wide open in front of Miller.
Who's the defender at the top of the box on? Is that 18?
That's Adrian Vera. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and you can tell he's out of position, but he was still ahead of the play, over Riley. So, but
yeah,
no, unfortunately, when Riley made that decision, and right or wrong, it basically San Antonio was able to attack and finished it. There's, like any quality team should do.
Yeah. I think you have a point there, and also if you notice right off the bat, like right before the actual goal happens, you see Camden Riley, instead of, okay, you already put yourself out of position in that pass, right? Where Dylan passes it back to Jose Gallegos first time. Instead of running back to get back into position, he decides to wait and see what Jose Gallegos does. He does signal to Carter Manley to follow Justin Dillon, but I feel in those seconds where Camden Riley decides to wait and see what Jose Gallegos does, I think those were key seconds that he lost to try to get back into his position.
But Manley's also on the wrong side, though. He's on the outside as opposed to being on the inside. If you're gonna have Manley do it, you want him to where he's on the inside, because on the outside where Jose put the ball, even though he was still hanging with Dylan, there was nothing that he could do. It was, the ball was, you have to give it up to Jose. He placed the ball perfectly, from where the defense was. If you wanted Manley to be the one that covers, Manley's got to come in and be more on the inside. That way maybe you push him out to the corner flag as opposed to leaving the inside the box open.
Definitely, but you do have to realize that Carter Manley was actually the player that was guarding Jose Gallegos out on the wing.
Yes. Yeah, it's
and then the play just happened so fast that by the time Jose Gallegos gets that through ball over to Justin Dillon, it was just like Dillon was already on his inside, and I felt like he wasn't going to be able to catch up to get back on his inside and try to push Dillon
that's
away.
One of the strong points of Jose's game, and in fact, that's probably his strongest point is his ability to the distribution. There was a play earlier in the game, and I forget where it was, where he took it down, and instead of shooting for the goal, he tried to pass it back in the middle, and it got broken up. And even Coach Marcina at that time was like, Jose, you got to shoot that. He had an opportunity on frame, but for Jose, and that's probably one of the things that he needs to work on is shooting the ball, and he's got a good shot. Just he's one of those players that likes to distribute the ball, and there's been a few passes like that where he sets the forwards up in a great position to where it puts the defense where in a really a lose decision that they put Pimentel in.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I originally, and I'm gonna be honest, when that play happened and I saw that play, my first instinct was to blame Pimentel and say like he was the one that left Nathan all by himself with unmarked in his attempt to try to help Carter Manley when Carter Manley was there. But you bring up good points, and seeing the replay slow and analyzing it more, you have a point. This is more on Camden Riley getting out of position, Adrian Vera out of position because he's more of an attacking minded. I say he's more of a wing back, a left wing back rather than
the one that goes forward.
Yeah. So when you've got two of your defenders from the same side of the field way up high on the field, and then you've got your other defender, Carter Malley in this case, that already got beat by Justin Dillon, and you've got two players. You have to decide, okay, who do I go for? Who do I go for? First instinct is you're gonna try and go for whoever has the ball, right? You're gonna try to take the ball away, but you have to give credit to Justin Dillon as well, because when Pimentel starts getting close to him, first touch, he gets that pass over to Nathan Vigasa. Like, it didn't matter how he got that touch to that ball, but the point is he got the touch to get the ball away from those two defenders. And because he had nobody marking him, that ball was going to get towards Fagasa in anyway. And Fagasa, killer's instinct, gets the ball past Colin Miller. There's really nothing you can blame on Colin Miller either. You know, it's just he was put out to dry.
Like I said, it goes back to the decision by Riley, and I'm assuming the RGV coaching staff will go over it in greater detail, and hopefully that they'll sit down saying, hey, we don't want to get caught out of position like this again, because that's really what
that's all you can do at this
point. It was
a
team defensive, and I don't want to blame Riley for it here. It was a defensive lapse by RGV, just plain and simple. A couple players were out of position. San Antonio caught them, and San Antonio executed. It's and that's what you hope that quality teams do, is if you get that opportunity to be able to punish the mistake. And unfortunately for RGV, this one was on your guys,
which I feel that RGV really doesn't. I mean, sure, they have scored a lot of goals, but I feel like they've had a lot of opportunities where the opposing team makes a mistake and they aren't able to capitalize.
Both ways, my friend.
Yeah, at this point, because
Nathan very easily could have skied that, and he's done that a couple of times.
Oh no!
So he's had a few shots that you're like, the dude can't miss, and he misses. So
now we move forward. Now we move forward to the play that was on everybody's mind and on everybody's Twitter accounts here in the Rio Grande Valley, and that is in the 92nd minute of stoppage time. You had that foul where Ollie Wright brings down Rodrigo Lopez outside the box. The referee calls a penalty. In the first instance, I saw it from the press box. I said that foul was outside. It doesn't matter if Rodrigo Lopez landed inside the box due to the impulse of the foul. That foul happened. The contact happened outside. That should have been a free kick. Then there's this whole manner of confusion where you had your San Antonio players, barking at the ref, saying that was not the correct decision. And then from what I saw, so I was focused on the referee, right? And later I see that the referee goes towards the linesman, and the linesman was actually positioned where linesmen usually go when there's a penalty kick. He was at the border of the 18-yard box. So that's where when I saw that, when I remember that later on, that's when I realized, okay, the linesman was going with the fact that this was a penalty kick. But then I see the referee go up to the linesman. He speaks to the referee, and then when he comes back, the referee changes his decision and calls the free kick outside the box, rightfully so. Honestly, I did not see the linesman pointing at the jumbotron to kind of insinuate. Excuse me. To try to kind of insinuate that the linesman used the jumbotron's replay to say, like, hey, you know what, this wasn't a penalty, right? But like I said, there were multiple people that were at the stadium that said that the referees used the jumbotron as a makeshift VAR to make the correct decision in that play.
And that's something that you hope that isn't the case. I didn't see the arm movement either, because I was on the other side of the stadium, down on the SAFC defensive side, or offensive side, pardon me, at that time. I can tell you my reaction when it happened. I was like, "Yep, this is how it's gonna tie," and it's just like, this is how this is another great story of the Stampede. Teasing me again about how San Antonio always coughs up the lead, and
Mm-hmm.
looking at the replay here, the AR does call him over. They have a quick chat. It wasn't very long. It was maybe 5-10 seconds, and or not even that. Probably
Are you
5 seconds.
looking at the ESPN feed?
One. Mm-hmm. The ESPN feed. He calls him over. He goes like this to the players, not to there, and then the ref makes the decision and puts it just right outside the box, and you know the funny thing to me this year is the first half RGV didn't replay any of the highlights, and the second half, especially at the end of the game when there were stoppages, they were replaying everything. And
I will tell you this. I will tell you this much, Harry. So I don't know if a lot of you pay attention to the jumbotron that go to HB Park, but in the second half, I noticed there were moments where you had the score, or not like the actual score box that's in the on the screen, that where it has the time and of course the score, but behind it you could see at the bottom at moments, how in the ESPN broadcast you'll have like the advertisement for USL Women or United Against Racism. Well, you could kind of see underneath
it's almost
it,
like they pull that feed.
Yeah, it's like they were using the raw, or not the raw feed, but they were using the ESPN feed to kind of show the game on the scoreboard. And so whenever the broadcast would show a replay, it would show up on the big screen. So to me, that's what happened. And so I guess instead of pretty much putting up the your generic Toros logo whenever the replays would come up, they would let it show, and that's exactly what happened. Now, I don't think this is something, because I know there was a lot of fans saying they were calling for the person who handles the scoreboard, they were calling for his head. You
can't do that. That's
I feel this is the times where I think people need to, or people lets their emotions to the point where you forget that there's livelihoods at stake, and you have to separate what happens on the field to the stuff off the field. Like, yes, it's a mistake that hurt the Toros, if you want to see that way, but that doesn't mean you're gonna call for somebody's head and they ended up losing their livelihood just because your favorite team lost because of that decision. To me, that's not fair.
And
right?
They're probably instructed to do that too. So that decision probably comes from higher up along those lines, because it was a pivotal replay, and it goes back to, and like I said, I'm not saying the referees did or didn't do it. Even if they see a replay, they're not supposed to use that to base their decisions on.
Correct.
If you make that call, you got to hope that they have the the integrity to live with it.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen it where, like especially like in higher up, like MLS or national teams, especially when the Mexico national or whoever plays at Cowboy Stadium, right? And you always have that instance, that foul, where the players go up to the ref and they're like pointing at like desperately at the big screen saying, look, that's not a penalty, blah, 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 blah. And the referee doesn't care. Like, he doesn't look up. He's like, I don't care. That's a penalty or that's not a penalty, kind of thing. And that's what this referee lacked. He lacked the confidence, to sustain his initial decision, whether it was right or it was wrong, doesn't matter. But you as a referee, you were instructed to, what's the word I'm looking for? You're instructed to ignore any video replays that could be present at the stadium. If you made a decision, you need and you don't have VAR, then you need to stick by that decision, right? You can't. it's like in a court of law where there's evidence that you have, but you can't use it in court for X or Y reason. Like even if it damns, the person that's on trial, you can't use it because it was either gained by it was gotten with illegal ways, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the way it is right here. They're not supposed to use the replays off of the jumbotron because there is no VAR present, and so if the referee made the decision because of to change it because of the replay, then that shows a lack of talent by that particular referee. And I think the USL Championship should look into the situation, not necessarily suspend the guy, but at least go back, train your referees, and remind them that in stadiums where there's big screens present and they pass the replays, you need to ignore it.
Replay it though, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why, and I know I'm a San Antonio guy, don't get me wrong, but I hope for the integrity of the game that the referee didn't do it, because HEB Park isn't the only one that shows replays. Mm-hmm. This happens in every stadium, for that here. So, and this is no disrespect, to HEB Park. It was a Sunday night game. It wasn't like it's a huge crowd that, that was intimidating. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just, it was the normal RGV crowd, during COVID time, which I think, from what you've said is what you guys are still under. It was a Sunday night game. If this game would have been Saturday night, it would have been a bigger, it would have been a bigger crowd. But Sunday night at what, 7:30 kickoff, mm-hmm. On a work night, to me, like I said here, outside of the players, maybe raising anything, but I hope, the call got made right, I think, but you got to hope for the integrity of the game that this doesn't happen with USL refs. And I know that's, sometimes hard, sometimes you can think things that where they can improve on. This is something I don't know how you prove, because they're not going to say, hey, yeah, I saw the video, for that here. So, outside of, what the conversations was going on in the ears.
And it's more of a he said, she said kind of thing.
And so, but to me, the call, okay, so the call is made. I just watched it here. From the time that he puts the spot down for where to kick it, 2 minutes elapsed before they take the kick. For that here, part of it, was RGV
complaining,
talking to the ref about the call.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was setting the wall. Part of it was the RGV player next to the wall wasn't in the right position.
Oh, but who was that? I think it was Babu. Originally, and
where,
then he leaves.
He even puts down a line saying, "Hey, you can't go past." And to me, that's where I thought the referee kind of overstepped, because he extended. We're already in extra time. He's extending that call there, and then to me, this is where I want to get your thoughts. I would have thought that they would have put it on frame. Instead, they go across the box and
don't get me started.
SAFC breaks it up.
Don't get me started because then I'm probably going to get some backlash again by some.
Well, you have to, because how you don't put that on frame? You're right outside the box, right?
Yes. So Mike says. So before I say, Mike says that ref should be suspended. For USL refs should learn not to do that. Speaking of the. But
you got to be able to prove it. That's the problem, Michael, is you got to be able to prove it. And I don't know how you prove that.
Yeah. But okay, my thoughts. So that play's going on. It's taking forever for them because, like you mentioned, the wall, them trying to tell the ref, like, no, that should have been a penalty, blah, blah, blah. Babu, getting right next to the wall when he should be a meter away from the wall. And then you have Rodrigo, he's the one that's setting Rodrigo Lopez. He's the one that set the ball. He's the one that was going to take the shot. But it seemed like, to me, and this is my point of view. So Rodrigo, if you're watching this, please don't get mad
Which
at
he
me
probably
again.
does because he support. I'll give it to Rodrigo. I know he plays for RGV, but I love him because he's great on social media. He's adapted very well to to the Valley.
And honestly, like whatever I say, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to offend players, directly or anything like that. Like this is what I think, my opinion on what I
It's our
saw from
opinion,
outside. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of players, they don't like when they get criticized, and so, and I feel like I said, like, you know me getting backlash because I said that, what were they thinking in this particular play? And the way I see it is, okay, Rodrigo sets himself up, but he took too long to execute. And if I'm wrong, tell me. Just don't give me just a bunch of eye rolling emojis. But if I'm wrong, like, tell me. But the way I see it is, Rodrigo didn't really have the confidence to shoot. It seemed like as time went on, he was kind of double thinking, like, okay, should I really take the shot? Should I not? Maybe should I try something else? Should I try crossing the ball? Because there were a lot of Toros players inside the box.
I'm going to disagree with you on that because that's a play that they work on in practice. So I think this was something that was set up by the coaching staff.
No, I can assure you it wasn't, because I asked Wilmer Cabrera about it, and he said that was not a technical decision. That was all on the players. And he said I can get the video. And in fact, it's on Ray's channel.
Michael says that you sent him the link, so he may be on.
Sorry, guys. Well, this guy's trying to. But honestly, like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to offend and say, like, I'm not saying like the people, like the media in Monterrey saying that Gignac is done, etc. I'm not being like that. I hate their style of sports journalism. But what I am trying to say is, at the end of the day, the decision that was taken in that play not only did it not generate a goal, but we also lost that ball and gave San Antonio a chance for another counterattacking opportunity. Thankfully, the defense stood up.
They got called offside, yeah.
And avoided the play to prosper into something else. But at the end of the day, you can't tell me it wasn't the right decision. It wasn't the wrong decision.
I just don't think it's a high. To me, the odds of that play working compared to a shot and then a possible rebound, I think is the shot on frame, especially a world-class player like Lopez. And there was you go back to Nathan's shot between the wall. There was a gap between Ollie and the RGV player. Now Matt's in position, but if he puts a world-class shot on there, it's possible.
You can cause Cardoni to parry it like Miller did, and because there's so many players, somebody could have got into it and maybe poked it in. But at least
I think the play they did, and that's
because
why
Babu,
to me I thought it was a. That's why I thought it was something that was called from the bench, because you had hoped that how they did it, where he sends it across and have the player come across, that's some sort of play that they worked on in practice. Now, whether they did or didn't, to me it looked like something that to me as a San Antonio fan, I'm happy that they did that as opposed to a direct shot. No, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, because the way I see it, okay, you can try that. You can try something like that. But there were so many San Antonio defenders in that area where you were trying to pass the ball to. And Babu, if I'm not mistaken, that was the player that was making the run. He was barely starting to make the run, and Rodrigo sent in the pass. And of course, I believe it was Abu that intercepted the ball. And that's where it all started. So I felt like maybe in other situations, it could have been the right decision, kind of like to surprise them. But when it's a do or die moment, I feel you might as well just try and take the shot, try to test Matt Cardoni in a way, not to be too cute, in an attempt to score. So maybe try. I don't know. I've never played professional soccer.
And then
I don't look like a professional soccer player at all, so.
And then who is it that almost had the, who is that number, who's 20, is that 24? That,
Cerritos?
that tried the bike again. Almost had flashbacks. He missed it this time.
Well, Sokar is usually the one that scored the bicycle kick at Toyota Field.
But there was another RGV player that tried, kind of a bike scissor kick that unfortunately was unsuccessful for RGV, successful for us. But I had flashback to the El Gato Blanco match where, oh no, here it comes again. So
I guess Los Gatos Blancos are here to stay then, huh? Now it leads me. So I will say this.
I did wear it to the Stampede tailgate.
But I will say this though. I wonder the fact that they actually used this time their away kits, their white kits.
Mm-hmm.
Was it intentional, or was it just pure coincidence?
The whites, they're away.
No, I know, but like for examples, like because I think in the first one they used their black kits. Like the first time they visited HEB Park this season, they used their black kits, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I'm like, wonder if the fact that they're not like the fans are not calling themselves the Gatos Blancos, it was against RGV where the white cat appeared. I wonder the fact that they're using their away kits was kind of like was just a coincidence, or they really are. The team is actually embracing the motto, or not the motto, but like the nickname of Los Gatos Blancos. I think that would be that's interesting. But anyway,
they're embracing it. Obviously financially they're making money off of it, which is probably why they're doing it. But that's smart.
You know what? I think I think the White Cat should request what was it? What do they call it? No, he should request legal advice from a lawyer because they're using his rights without his permission. There it is, everybody. So Michael says, Harry, thanks for coming down, man. I know I was mad after the game, LOL, but it's all love with you, brother. I love how you and me have so much of a strong passion for this beautiful game. Vamos Toros, puro 956.
Yeah, it's much respect. Like I said here, it's me and Edson go way back, and like I said here, despite the friendly banter, like I said here, it's nothing but love between San Antonio and RGV. Outside of the 90 minutes, for that here, but no, it's like I said here, it's hopefully we'll be together for many, many, many years. Going back and forth, and obviously head to head. Can't be any closer. Well, I guess you could, but San Antonio now ends the year with 6 wins, 5 draws, and 5 wins for RGV. So, despite
isn't it 7 wins for? I think it's 7 for San Antonio and 6 for RGV.
That's right. I went
because remember the first draw at Toyota Field that put it at 666.
Yeah, that's right. Here I went back to the first game.
So it should be 7 wins, 7 draws, 6 losses for San Antonio.
7 and 6. So, but
so we just need an RGV goal, and it'll be the lucky 777 or an RGV win. But moving forward,
that'll be next year.
Yeah.
Or I got one more question here for you.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure this will be echoed by everybody in San Antonio and RGV. How disappointing is it that San Antonio and San Antonio and RGV are done at the halfway point of the season? We won't see each other the second half of the season.
It is a little bit disappointing. I feel because it's like it's over. Like it's over the anticipation of leading up to
4 matches. That's the crazy thing. We played 4 matches in 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So 25% of our season has been against each other. That's something. If USL decides to keep this 4 division, which I like, I do like the 4 divisions. I know it's not traditional and along those lines, but U.S. soccer is not traditional. So I guess this is the USA model for soccer. to me, you got to have a little bit more balance. And there's, like Phoenix, San Diego, RGV, San Antonio,
Mhm.
the first half of the season, they're done playing. And to me, I think that really affects come the second half of the year because let's be honest, RGV could bring in some players, San Antonio could bring some players that changes the dynamics of the team. And, with injuries, I would have loved to seen both of these teams be healthy going head to head because I think it would have been a hell of a match.
Just a quick reminder, guys. Now that you bring that up, don't expect any other players coming in for the second half of the season. I'd be surprised
really?
if they do. Yeah. So Ray, not this past week, but the week before,
Mhm.
in a press conference, Wilmer brought up, the fact that, we're heading into the second half of the season. Teams usually, bring in, reinforcements for the second half of the season. So he pretty much left the ball bouncing for Ray to take advantage of it. And I know Ray's listening right now, so he can say that this is true. But basically, he comes in, with the kicker, and he says, "Will there be reinforcements for the Toros in the second half?" Wilmer says, "The fact of the matter is, the Toros had a budget to bring in players. They pretty much built a squad in 2 weeks. They had a budget. Then, when the season began, you bring in players like Louis Ramsey, Roberto Albuquerque, Edwin Quero, Aitor Lopez. 5 or 6 players that you bring in mid-season, and that put them. They went past the budget that they had for the 2021 season. It was just bad luck that I thought is injured. That I thought was injured, and you have all these injuries in the striker position. But now you don't have the budget to bring in any more players unless you get rid of some of the players that you have and you probably don't use. That could be a way. But he pretty much said on the record, don't expect reinforcements for RGB in the second half of the season.
As a SAFC fan, I'm fine with that, but as a fan
But
of the game,
but why? Like, what's the point if we aren't going to be playing each other anymore for the rest of the season?
well, no, as a SAFC fan, I want to pass you guys. So that's why if you guys don't bring in any more reinforcements, advantage San Antonio, in my opinion. But as a fan of, a fan of the game here, I hope they do what San Diego did and dig in the couch and find a little bit more changed. If I'm not saying bring in somebody here. You could bring somebody in on loan where it maybe doesn't cost you a whole lot because you're not tied by a certain team up over in East Texas for that here any longer. So maybe you can get some late season loans that may make a difference because let's be honest, some players have fell out of favor with current teams. You see, Oklahoma City brought in 2 players this week from other USL teams. So maybe there's hope if for they're here. But
and we saw that last season when the Toros brought in Kyle Line from OKC Energy.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
It's I wouldn't close the door, and because let's be honest, RGV is in a is in a good position. They're seated second. Right now, I don't think anybody's catching El Paso. I hate to say that, but unless El Paso gets a bunch of injuries,
Choo
the
choo,
the
mofo.
locomotive has left the building and not going to be caught.
Yeah.
So you're playing for to me, when it comes to the mountain, you're looking at RGV, San Antonio, New Mexico, and Colorado Springs for 3 out of those 4 spots. I'm sorry, Austin Bold, with you selling your best strikers or loaning them out. I don't see you keeping up with the New Mexico, San Antonio's.
By the
Colorado
way,
Springs.
if anybody's curious about the state of the Austin Bold, you guys need to check out the Striker Tejas episode that came out today.
Episode, yes.
No, this week's episode that came out today. Roberto Silva talked about the situation from what he can say.
Oh wow! So this isn't Mark Bay's version. This is
No, this is
Mr.
Roberto
Silva
Silva's, and you have to remember Roberto Silva was
was the
GM.
GM. Yeah. This is,
So if anybody is curious about what's going to happen with the Bold, be sure to check that out.
yeah, I'll have
But
to check that out.
yeah, but
And please
just
subscribe to the Striker Texas. Support Edson. Support Jonathan Check, Mark Bay, and Joe Rodriguez
mhm.
in El Paso. They do a wonderful job, and I got into it a little bit, on the MLS coverage. And if we want more coverage, from Edson and Jonathan, for San Antonio, El Paso, we've got to subscribe and make a difference, because the reason why it's so Austin centric, I'll just say, is because that's the majority of the subscribers. So please subscribe, and I think they've got what, a 30-day. I don't know if that's still active.
yes, yeah, it's
Edson
still
can
active. 30-day free
30
trial.
days for that here. So
And I think people need to realize. Look, I understand that it's a paywall, but we're getting we're getting compensated for the work that we do. And at the end of the matter is, like, if you want the striker to have a lot more confidence in continuing to or even add to the investment, hi Kitty, to the investment of USL coverage, the clicks are what matter. Like, if you have people clicking on the links, if you have people interacting with their USL centric posts on social media, whether it's likes, retweets, comments, whatever, the more people interact with that, the more they realize, hey, there could be something for us, and we invest more into USL Championship. It could be that, if they see this growing, like, hey, you know what? You guys can go, cover away matches,
mhm.
go to cover a Taurus game in Phoenix or wherever, but it is very important for the fan base to support the local coverage, and support their initiative to give the USL a platform to pretty much talk about USL.
Well, to
It,
me, the biggest thing, number one, it's a voice that, like Jonathan Check, this is his first paying job writing, for it here. And I don't know how much you guys get paid, and I don't care to know. But for him, that's awesome to be able to say, hey, I'm getting paid to be able to write about San Antonio. I'm assuming same for you with getting, with RGV, Mark, up in Austin, for there. So, and to me, John Arnold stuff, Victor Ariza, from Houston, Chris Bills, and who's the guy that wrote the book? Uh,
John Arnold.
no, not in
John Arnold.
Austin.
Chris
The book
Bills.
about MLS. But they do.
Phil.
It's so much more than just the local coverage. Like John Arnold's Concacaf stuff, and his coverage of the Gold Cup is one of the best out there. For that here, Victor covering. I know he covers Houston, but I think he also covers the Mexico's national team
Mhm.
pretty well here, and I'm not sure if you also chip in on that as well, but to me, not to make this a striker commercial, even though Edson does do that here, but please support down in the valley, as well here, because Edson's been doing this for what, 3-4 years now.
Oh, well, yeah. This is our fourth season.
Yeah, so
You know, but real quick, moving forward, RGV will be playing Colorado
Switchback.
Springs Switchbacks on Saturday at HEB Park. The
Haji
game is
Berry.
no.
He's a bad man. 16 goals already. He's averaging a goal a game.
No, no, no! Get him away from me! Get him away from me!
And it's the
No,
speed up
no,
top. It's the
no!
speed up top. The speed up top. We San Antonio played them. San Antonio, beat them 3-0 the first game of the year, but that was more kind of their last preseason game because they had a couple of weeks off after that.
Mhm.
But they are a quality. They are a quality mid-pack team. So that they'll lose some games they shouldn't lose. They'll win some games they shouldn't win. But they score goals, and that to me, that's kind of the bad thing for RGV is with the injuries up front is can they keep up with Colorado Springs for that? And to me, that's going to be the determining factor is um, how Colorado or how RGV handles the attack of the switchbacks.
Yeah. So looking at the standings. Let me see if I can get. No, I have to use Google for that. So Colorado Springs is actually 3 points behind us. They tied against Memphis 901 last night. I believe you saw the game. What did you see out of them against Memphis?
The normal, they got a penalty early, for that a deserved penalty, which Haji Berry, converted. Um, they put a lot of pressure on, but if your defense can kind of hold, and if you got a good goalkeeper, and I would probably expect Tyler will be back, based on what you're saying earlier, that give him that extra week of rest, for that here, so he'll be in. But to me, it's just that speed that the three of them have. Now, I think you said that Beckford won't be playing this game because he's suspended.
Mike just told me he wasn't.
Okay.
So interestingly about Colorado Springs, like I said, they are 3 points behind us. They have 25. We have 28 points. They have a goal difference of +4. They have scored 33 goals, 16 of those, so pretty much just under half of the goals scored by Colorado Springs Switchbacks are scored by Haji Berry.
Yes. But on the flip side, they leak a lot of goals.
On the flip side, Haji Berry does not defend.
He does not. And their captain and starting center back who got 2 yellows. Ockford is out. So
correct. So that is a lifeline for the Toros at this moment. They have allowed 29 goals. In contrast with the Toros, we scored 25 goals. Surprisingly, you know what's surprising about this? I'm looking at this right now. We've only scored 1 less goal than El Paso.
Mm-hmm. But El Paso's defense is what sets them apart.
Exactly. They've only allowed 10. But we're not going against El Paso Locomotive. But yes, the Toros have allowed 19 goals, which is 10 less than Colorado Springs has let in this season. And they're currently in third place, 1 point over San Antonio. But here's the thing. The difference
this is
between
your first match against them this year, right?
Yes. The difference between third place Colorado and 6th place New Mexico United, just 3 points.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing with the Toros. They need to get out of the slump, because if they continue to let points go, especially at home, you've got all these teams that are just waiting for you to trip, and you end up being 5th or 6th place and looking in, by the end of the season. So this is where making these points, especially at home, is really important, because at first, we were in the top of the division.
Beckford didn't get 2 yellow cards. He only got 1 yellow card. So it was Ockford that got the 2 yellow cards for that here. Let me see here. Hold on. I think Beckford plays. Let me see how many yellow cards he's got.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see. Ray says, 4 of the last 5 with dropped points at home.
The good news for you guys is, and hopefully this isn't a curse for you guys, you guys have yet to lose to Colorado in HEB Park. So that is the good news.
So historically, it favors us.
Yes.
So guys in the chat, Mike, Ray, I want to see y'all's predictions and bold predictions, because it's time that we wrap it up. It is 9:00 already. We've already gone for an hour and a half, but it was a great discussion, Harry. And if you want to give your predictions, just take off your San Antonio
I think it's going to
shirt.
be a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw because I don't think you prevent them from scoring. Without knowing who is the forward that got hurt.
Kyle Edwards.
Kyle Edwards, without knowing what his injury status is, and depending on.
And I don't think we'll ever find out.
So you play for San Antonio. I'm going to say 2-2. I do have two final thoughts here, though, but and then I'll let Edson kind of wrap it up and through here. Number one, I want to say thank you to the Stampede, Edson down in the Valley. I didn't get to see Ray. Apologize, about that. I didn't get to catch up with you for it here, but also to the staff at HEB Park. You guys are awesome. Like I said here, it's a great game day experience. For that to be able to go down and see a game. Obviously, HEB Park's a good place to play. It's a little windy, which was the case Sunday night. And then my final thought here, like I said here, unfortunately, one of my co-hosts unfortunately had a family member that passed away. So please make sure if you got loved ones, make sure you love them, because unfortunately tomorrow's never promised. So hate to end kind of on a downer, but like I said here, just life is short, and especially with the crazy world we live in, just if you got loved ones, make sure you tell them you love one, and of course, if you ever need to talk, I'm assuming Edson's always available. I'm open, if you need to talk about anything either as well.
Please send our condolences over to your co-host. Yeah. It's never easy to lose a loved one, especially during these moments. So wish him the best, and like I said, our condolences on behalf of Ray, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Jacob. We wish him our condolences. Tough, but sorry to switch the board really quick, but okay. Ray gave his prediction. He says 1-0 for the Toros. Bold prediction. 4-4. La Tragedia strikes, which means that Colorado Springs are going to get a stoppage time equalizer to make it 4-4. Mike says RGV 2, Colorado 1. Bold. RGVFC 4, Colorado 2. And Mike sends his condolences as well. So, but guys, that is going to be it for tonight. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I appreciate, obviously, a huge thank you to the Beautiful Game Network for their support of the podcast. Also, Roughneck Scarves, Icarus FC, Natural Beauty Spa for their support, and of course of all of our patrons that have been financially supporting this podcast. Keep August 25th. Put it on your calendars. That is going to be our next patron show. So I hope to see you there, Harry. Since you are a patron, hope to see you there August 25th.
One of the first ones.
Exactly.
So hate to end the show on a bad thing here. Beckford's only got 2 yellows, so outside of an injury, he will be making his return.
Ooh, that's going to be a homecoming. You know what the worst part is? There's a thing that in Mexico we call the law of the X, and that is that for some reason, it's just strange, but usually when a player that leaves a team comes back to play them, they usually score against them. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Beckford scores against the Toros. Hopefully not.
Exception to that rule: when San Antonio signs an RGV player, they never really perform well against RGV.
They never put them to play either. You just take players just to take them. I still can't forgive you over taking Chuy Enriquez. I still can't forgive you. Like, I can forgive you Charlie Ward, and I can forgive you Kyle Murphy, but Chuy Enriquez was the last straw. I will never forgive you. But guys, thank you so much for all your support. We'll see you all next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. And obviously, go out there on Saturday. Let's go show our Toros our love and their support, and show them, tell them that we love them, that we'll be there 100% of the way. And that includes me too. But until the next time, on behalf of Jacob and of Ray, We wish y'all a very good rest of the week, and we'll see y'all next Wednesday. Take care.